Very good morning to all of you, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, honored guests. My name is Michael Ocasto. I'm the General Chair of IEEE Security and Privacy 2016. And it's my very great pleasure to welcome you all here today and open the 37th iteration of this conference, which incidentally, it's quite well, interesting to me personally. IEEE Security and Privacy is as old as I am. So the first iteration of this conference was held when I was born, and when I was running around the suburbs of Long Island, the folks attending this conference were wrestling with really hard and important and interesting issues in information and computer security. So I'm delighted to become part of this tradition, and I hope and trust that it will continue for quite some time to come. And as a way of closing that loop, 2 days ago my third son was born, so maybe in another 37 years. I don't know if I want to wish on him following in my footsteps, but yes. All right. So I just want to have a few brief remarks to kick off this morning. Mostly a number of thank yous to the people involved in helping plan and organize and get this event off the ground, and then I'll turn it over to the program chairs. So we'll thank the folks in the organizing committee individually at the business meeting Tuesday night, but this is the list of folks who have done an absolutely tremendous job in making sure this event comes off without a hitch. So my deep and sincere gratitude to all the folks who put in volunteer time, making sure that every aspect of this conference is professionally done and is an enjoyable and educational experience for all of you. So a big round of applause to the organizing committee. I would be remiss if I didn't note and thank the technical committee of this community. So Sean, Ulf, and Yang were also instrumental in offering their advice and experience to the organizing committee as we dealt with the myriad things I won't bore you with the details of, but as you could imagine, organizing a 500, 600 person 4-day event is something that runs into all sorts of interesting snags here and there, and their wisdom and advice and guidance was much appreciated throughout the process. I'd like to thank all our donors. So not only do a number of people put in quite an amount of volunteer time to make sure that everything happens, we couldn't run this conference the way we do without the kind support of all the donors that we have. So our platinum donor this year was NSF. Our gold donors, ARL, the IEEE Cybersecurity Initiative, which you'll hear more about later, Google, Qualcomm, Goldman Sachs, Cisco, CERT, SEI. Our silver sponsors were Symantec, VeriSign, and VMware, and our bronze sponsors, Grammatech, IAI, NEC Labs, IBM, the NSA, NITRD, Springer, Uber, and MIT Lincoln Labs. My deep gratitude to all of those folks, because even though we call them donors, their support is instrumental to holding all the social events we have, to supporting quite a number of students to attend the conference and the workshop. So again, a big round of applause to our donors. The program chairs will also remind you of exactly this information, but I wanted to kind of present it to you multiple times so it sinks in. Here are some of the highlights of the agenda that I wanted to point out. There's a poster reception this evening. There are the Distinguished Paper Awards tomorrow morning during this 10-minute session. I'll point out that there are some short talks and some slots still available in the short talk, so please email Kevin. I think Vitaly and Olfar will have that contact information in their slides. I'll put in a plug for the business meeting. This is on Tuesday night. Everyone is invited to attend. This is a place and a time where quite a number of issues of interest to the community about how this conference is organized and run and how the program is structured are discussed and voted on. So we welcome and encourage your input there. So if you can make it, please put that on the calendar and attend. As in past years, we have a NITRD panel on Wednesday, and that flows into a speed mentoring event, which is a new event for this year, and the bridging reception for the workshop. So on Thursday, we have 6 quite interesting workshops, a number of them returning from prior years and a couple that are new. And so I know many of you are registered for the workshops, but I'll put in a plug. If you have time on Thursday and you haven't registered or are interested in one of these topics, please see if you can fit some time into your schedule to attend those. All right, it's my great pleasure to announce that the symposium is open. You can find all the papers for this year's proceedings online, linked from our website, and that should also be true now of the papers from last year. All right, it's my great pleasure to introduce Vitaly and Olfar, and they'll tell you a little bit more about how the program itself was structured and put together.
Hi, I'm Vitaly. I'm the outgoing chair, so I'm just going to say a few words if I learn how to advance this. Okay, it's been a long and strange trip to get here. So these are some statistics about how this happened. As you can see, reviewers are like submitters. They like to submit their reviews at the last moment, but you can clearly infer from this slide how many rounds of reviewing we ran, which is 4. The initial rounds were online, so we started about 400 papers. A few were rejected for being malformatted and so on. And then we cut it down about by half after 2 rounds of reviews with early rejection, which was a new thing this year. The authors had an option to appeal early rejection, and I'm very pleased to report that in at least a few cases, a small number of cases, this actually worked. So there are papers that ended up being accepted after the authors appealed them after early rejection. So it's nice to know that some of the controls we built into the system actually helped a little bit. And then by the time the PC meeting came about in early February, we had around 90 papers or so. And most of them were discussed at the PC meeting, but a few papers were accepted because they had uniform positive support, so they were accepted without discussion. And so that's how we ended up with 55 papers that you're going to be hearing over the next few days. As an experiment this year, we ran something called the Student PC. This was managed by Joe Bonneau. The role of the Student PC was to train students on how to review and how the internal mechanics of program committees work. They weren't making any decisions, and all decisions were made by the main PC. But this was an interesting experience, and Joe will talk about how that worked during the business meeting. So another reason to come to the business meeting is to learn from Joe how Student PC ran, what worked, what didn't work. These are statistics. Our acceptance rate stayed about the same as last year, but we ended up with many more reviews. So as you can see, we tried to put a lot of effort into reviewing and to generate a lot of reviews. Every time anything was controversial, we opted for an extra review to be extra sure that we're making the right decision. So almost 1,500 reviews were generated, so big thanks to members of the program committee who worked hard on this. Here are a few things that are coming up between now and Wednesday. Let me again draw your attention to short talks. Everybody knows this is the best part of the conference, and amazingly, we still have a few open slots there. So if you have something that you just want to talk about informally, please send an email to Kevin Butler. So the email is right here on the slide, and he'll put you into the program, and you'll have a chance to rant for 5 minutes. I mean, what could be better than that? And big thanks to everybody who helped make this happen, like authors, speakers, panelists, certainly members of the program committee. I mean, 1,500 reviews is a lot, and we wouldn't be here without them. Thanks a lot, and have fun.